There was a period of time where I was very into like online crane machine sites because I didn't have access to an actual crane game, you know, not being near the Far East. So I would spend many times on online crane game machine because you know, when seasons hit, sometimes people at the end of the year with seasonal sadness I would play the crane games like a full-time job, and I would spend maybe 12 hours a day on these websites with 10 windows open, stalking different machines, and then getting into line and trying to snipe people and take their prize when they give up. I was literally playing it like a full-time job. Some of the wins, they felt very good because, okay, this may be evil, but some people are really stupid. And they don't know what they're doing when they're playing a crane machine. So I get in line and I just like watch them be very terrible and not know how to play the game correctly or not know how to move the crane or like move the prize correctly. And I'm watching them and I'm like, leave now. And then after watching them like sink $30 into the machine, they leave because they can't get it. And I'm like, you fool! All you have done is put it in the perfect position for me to take it from you! And then I would win. Here, whoever goes to play crane games in the Far East, here's just a little bit of tips for you guys, okay? So I'm sure everyone knows in the machine there are bars holding up the plushies. So imagine you're like just looking at it from out here, and then it's like it's being held up by 2 bars around it. Like this. Did you know? I feel like it's not very apparent, but these bars are sticky. They have an adhesive on them, which makes whatever is sitting on them stick to them much more. So you can't just look at it and go, wow, it looks so easy. Remember, these have adhesives on them. These bars have, like, strong adhesives. I think this is a very common setup, is that you have something hanging like this, and then you see like this. And you have to slowly move it back and forth until it falls off, but you're like, wow, that thing is hanging so precariously on that bar that it must be so easy to win. But guys, there is an adhesive here. It is a very strong adhesive. So don't fall for it unless you know what you're doing. Yes, it is bait. Yeah, so if you're thinking like, whoa, it looks too easy, just remember, all the bars always have adhesives on it. And then if you look at a claw, I don't know, what does a claw look like? They're like this. You always want to know how much the claw is opening. That's the first rule. A general tip is that this is a claw when it's closed, and you can do some like quick math that it probably extends to here at most. That you can guess that it opens around here. If that helps you. If you do some quick maths, this is about where the claw will open and where it will grasp, and then it'll grab here, and then it'll close around back here. And when claws go down like this and they hit something, so they open like this, and they're gonna hit something. Imagine this is right here. Claws will always extend down to their maximum until any one of these claws. If they sense that they're smacking into something, it'll stop where it smacks into. So if you want to try and hitting something with like this back part of it, you're gonna have to miss the prize, so it doesn't sense it and doesn't stop. This is 2-prong claw machine details because 3-prong claw machines are much different than 2-prong claw machines. If you are trying to win a plushie or a figure at a I don't know, any arcade that has stuff like this. Yeah, so These claws have sensors built into them. They will always stop whenever they hit something, or they will go all the way down as long as they don't hit something. And then that way you can control what you're trying to do. And my favorite part about like most Far East claw machines is that even though they're like 90% luck based, 10% of that is also skill. So you can technically skill your way into winning almost everything. The only thing that you can't really guarantee are 3-prong or 3/4-prong claw machines, because the ones that are like this, the ones that are very common in like Frisia areas where it's like this and there's a bunch of plushies laying around, these have a predetermined payout. These are set to grab something on payout because you see that you grab something perfectly and it holds onto it and it brings them all the way up to its peak point, and then it'll drop it. Well, that's how you know it's not payout yet. And payout, I brought this up before, that payout is generally like 1,500 yen to 3,000 yen-ish, depending on whatever you're playing for. But there are ways to win if you're playing a 3-prong claw machine. So here's the barrier, the win barrier. I don't know, maybe like this is just the best way. So imagine something is laying down right here, and you really, really want it, and you pick it up, and you're like, yay, I'm gonna win it! But then it drops it. You can slowly maneuver it over to the edge, and depending on what it is, if you can get half of it up here, if you grab its head and it lifts it up, physics! Gravity will have the thing lifting it up like this, that if you are able to, it'll just fall straight in. Use physics to your advantage for crane games. It doesn't always work. You have to look at the plushie and be like, okay, what part of this plushie is the heaviest? And will it fall? It's always dependent on the plushie, and it's pretty dependent on machines too. So just give things a few plays to test it out and see if it actually is. And if you put too much money in it, just go for payout if you really, really want it. Yeah, school was made for crane games, for you to win stuff at crane games. And for boxes, I'm not good at boxes, but there's like this little gap here, you know, where the boxes open. You can get a claw stuck in here. Right in here, if you're good at aiming. Also, plushies, they have tags on them. So imagine this. This is a tag. A good place to get a claw stuck in is a tag. Also, another good place to get a claw stuck in is like this. Is that sometimes things they're like sewed on to their bodies. And there's like a little gap here. You can get a claw stuck in here too, in this little gap. And it'll sometimes lift it up. Like that. So, lots of stuff to look for when it comes to plushies and boxes is just examine the prize that you're winning and tackle it from multiple angles. And if you try from multiple angles and you still fail, then just, if you really, really want it, just go for payout. Because at the end of the day, you will always win it. Granted, you put enough money into the machine. And that is the lesson to learn, is that if you put enough money into something, you will eventually get it. Also, when it comes to things in the Far East, if you put enough money, you can go sumimasen, tasukete, onegai shimasu, and then you point at it very aggressively, and it works much better if you are a very apparent foreigner. If you are visually a foreigner to them, you can like beg and plead and be like, help! Help! And then they'll be like, okay. Life pro tips for people that want to win at crane machines. There are obviously more tactics and other strategies, but these are the very, very basics that you can go for when trying to win stuff. And if you have a Far East trip planned in the near future, I hope that my stream was helpful to you. Did you know machines like this, they have a thing here, right? If you open, you have to push to open. And then this partition here closes into the gap. So you can't stick your hand up here because it closes and it blocks it. It blocks it when you push it to get the prize. Because they know. They know that you can't. They're like, nope, we're not gonna let someone crawl into our crane machine and steal the plushies. No, just because I tried. It's very obvious when you push it open. It has been a thought. But if you have a little bit of perception, it's like the first thing you notice when getting a prize out of the prize chute. If you're playing an online crane machine, they're very, very different in which, like, this stuffed animal... This is the original stuffed animal. It gets packaged like this, for the most part. Like, wrapped in plastic. And it's like a tube. So when you're playing an online crane machine, you have this tube just sitting here. And for the most part, stabbing is a very, very good thing to do when it comes to these tubes. So try aiming to stab. Tubes like rolling, and they like being shoved through the opening in the hole. Here are my tips on crane machine. Thank you for listening to my 30-minute lecture on winning in crane machines. If you go to the Far East, you're obviously going to be tempted by a crane machine, and you're gonna want to play, and you're gonna flash back to this stream while you're in the Far East, and you remember very, very useful words. Sumimasen. Onegai shimasu. Help.